Somebody was already ready. 10 people already waiting in here. You guys are the loyal folks. Ready, waiting for me. I've just posted, there's a new feature on YouTube where I have a community tab where I can send like pictures and little messages and stuff, and that's good. Normally in the past I've had to make a video just to communicate with everybody, and that's, I mean, as fun as videos are, that's a pretty good move in the right direction. Yo, Jesus, what's happening, man? Greetings, everyone. 101 people already in here. That's awesome. Cool. All right, so I actually do have a legit agenda, like stuff we're going to chat about. I'm not just going to get on here and randomly just kind of shoot the breeze. Well, we'll do a little bit of that. We do want to take care of, you know, it's an actual live video. So you beautiful bearded man. Who said that? Henry, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yo, Michigan, I'm coming for Fowlerville. It's almost sold out. Some of my classes are selling out like 4 or 5 months in advance, which is really cool. And I say that just to simply say if you want to get in training classes, those jokers are booked long before the actual date comes out. So go ahead and visit my website, warriorpoetsociety.us. Get some training and some cool swag because it pays the bills, and then I can take Mrs. Poet out on some swank awesome date, and we'll get fat and happy off like cheesecake and things. So anyway, all right. So what do you think on high points? If you don't have money for anything else, get a high point, and you can still defend yourself with them. It is certainly not ideal for a fighting handgun, but it can get the job done in a pinch. So very good. Should I make another parody of one of your videos? I recognize that. That was not a bad parody. It wasn't bad. Wyoming. Yeah, very good. Cool. All right, cool. So let's jump in. I want to go over a few things of like, hey, what am I demoing right now? Like, what am I playing with? What am I interested in? What have I recently bought and I'm hiding from the missus? No, really, I'm not hiding it from the missus, but you know, little gear techie things that I'm into or weapon type stuff. I just ordered like 3 ARs, which is uncharacteristic of me because normally I'm not that guy who's stockpiling tons and tons of guns. But just looking at the different anti-gun kind of climate out there, I don't know how long we're going to be at. It seems like every time the media sinks its teeth into, it's like a pit bull. It's insatiable, and it latches on until it actually accomplishes what it wants. If they really want to eliminate ARs and things from civilian populace and they make it really hard to get one, I don't know what type of legislation would work out, but I do think kind of the writing's on the wall, and it's going to eventually happen. Hopefully you don't see that as me rolling over. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, we fight through the proper channels on something like that. I'm not okay with that. That's something that we fight in the proper you know, political places and on social media and whatever we can possibly do. But as a precaution, I'm stocking up. A lot of times when they outlaw something, it's to make it really hard to get, and if you had it before a ban or before something happened, you're grandfathered in and good to go. But afterwards, it can make it really hard. I think this is hot on my brain because I just went and trained out in California. And there, it's kind of like high-capacity magazines. You can't have them. It's 10-round max. But if you had high-capacity magazines before the law came in, you can have those because they're grandfathered in. I had a dude who's a real cool cop, SWAT team guy. He's one of their trainers, awesome guy, but he actually printed out the law and gave it to me. He says like, hey, this is really hard to even enforce in California because it's your word against theirs. You say, you can't have this high-capacity magazine. They say, I bought it before the ban. And since they're not serial numbered or tagged or any way, it's really just your word against theirs, unless you have like some Gen 4, which you know, some weird thing that actually came out. So a lot of times that's almost an unenforceable standard in California. And a lot of California Agons, California Agons, that nailed it. Are I know it's Californians, but I was pulling name the movie I was just thinking of when I made that silly joke. Cool. I am not in the U.S. right now. There's pretty scenery. Actually, I'm in downtown San Jose, Costa Rica, in the cities. It's going well. We were supposed to come back. What are you reading right now? But he says, ¿Qué estás leyendo ahora? So, qué bueno para usted. Right now, I'm reading Meditations on Violence. I'm reading the Bible. I'm reading Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis. and that kind of taps me out for right now. So anyway, going really well. All right, so what am I demoing? What have I just finished up? And what's on my mind? Let's start with what's on my mind. This has been on my mind probably because over and over in different pistol classes, this comes up where I see different types of movement and different type of responses that people come up to various scenarios. And generally, you know, when people pull out guns and start shooting targets, their direction of travel, even as civilians, is always toward the targets, which is ludicrous. That was my old mindset because I was an assault element in a Ranger battalion. We were assaulters. We had a bunch of dudes with us. In a civilian context, why would you shoot and close on the threat? I'm going somewhere with this, something that's not just the tactics of what I'm saying, but a kind of a wider reaching thing of how we approach fights in general, and especially how our philosophy of training should be adopted. Because I think a lot of it, I just want to look at how we train and just call a big BS on it. I'm kind of like, yeah, I see that, but a lot of it can come down to range theatrics, and this is one example where we're closing on threat. Every step you take toward a threat that has a gun is one step toward your death. Guns are violence at a distance, and if you make space from the guns, anybody shooting at you, your odds of survival goes up. Why would you shoot and close on a threat? Now you're walking into the muzzle of a gangbanger, and every step you get closer to this thug, it makes it easier and easier for him to shoot you. Whereas if you made space, you being the better marksman, the odds can tilt in your favor, right? But that's just kind of one example, because normally I don't see break contact and shoot. Normally I see competitive shooting stages. Everything that people generally are doing, the direction of travel is all wrong. They're moving in like they're an assault element, and they're not, and that'll get you killed. So anyway, this is just all this serves as a placeholder, an example of some of the silly stuff that we do, seemingly without thought. We just, I guess, really didn't think it through. That can really absolutely get people killed. I don't like that movement. I generally don't like the way a competitive shooting course is even laid out for civilian defensive shooting. It's not built that way. It's built as a game, it's built as a sport, and it's wonderful at accomplishing that. Guys, engage in competitive shooting because it's fantastic for marksmanship, for efficiency, for weapon manipulation stuff, but a lot of times the direction of movement and the timing, the use of cover, and the lack of scans is ludicrously wrong. And if you don't know better and you can't balance this competitive shooting stuff out with something a little bit more real world that is actually informed by a various scenario that's real world, you could just very well get yourself killed. So again, I'm not picking on these people, but this goes to underscore the fact that I have, as I survey all the different fighting stuff out there, whether it's guns or martial arts, a lot of times I just have this BS meter that's going on. I'm like, yeah, but that's stupid. that's gonna get people. That's gonna get people hurt. A book I'm recently reading is really applying the same stuff to the martial arts world. And a lot of you guys are fighters as well. You're warrior poets. Welcome, guys. Good to see you guys. I'm gonna start really reading comments here in a little bit, but I wanted to go on kind of this rant, and hopefully it'll kind of frame what we're doing in here. With martial arts, if you want to see something really funny, and I say funny because you'll laugh so that you don't cry, meaning it's sad, but you'll laugh at it because it's so ridiculous. Look up women's self-defense moves on YouTube. And what you're going to have is some jack-o'-lantern teaching a bunch of gals of how to defend themselves, and invariably 99% of the time, and yes, I made up that statistic on the spot, but still you get the idea, most of the time it's just crap. I look at them like, there's no way that would work. Absolutely not. And there's some stuff that is generally good, but a lot of it just isn't going to work. Or you think that you're able to give some gal or some dude a couple little kung fu-y moves, and all of a sudden that's going to be the thing that holds the day. And I'm not... Repetition is something that's incredibly important. I just see a lot of silly business out there. In my Instagram feed, sometimes I just scroll through the stories. I don't have a lot of time to do that stuff anymore, but sometimes I just kind of scroll through the stories, and I'll see some Eastern Oriental Kung Fu master where he's just kind of throwing dudes around, flowing robes and gowns and stuff. I'm certainly not a big fan of Eastern martial arts, generally speaking. And when I say that, I kind of mean more of like the katas, the forms, the traditional whole spiritual movement that goes along with it. Now, I would say, hey, Bruce Lee, that dude's a dangerous animal. There's some real dangerous guys that are walking around in Eastern fighting systems. But I guess this is the generality of what I'm saying. A lot of that was really big in the forms and all kinds of these little katas and horse stances and katas and horse stances and weird stuff that just doesn't look like it made sense after having, you know, well over a decade in the UFC, which provides an amazing platform to test the world's martial arts, right? So now we can put combat hapkido against Muay Thai, against Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, and just kind of see how it works. See what rises to the top. You see, Muay Thai works really, really well. Good job. Kickboxing, just good old American kickboxing, works epically. Wrestling, a fantastic martial art, works awesome. Taekwondo is a joke. I mean, it's good for exercise or something, but in terms of a fighting system, it is far, far inferior to other forms of system. I'd take 5 boxing lessons over 5 years of Taekwondo. Now, some dudes can be bad news Taekwondo guys, but if they had been spending the same amount of time in Taekwondo and in better martial arts form, they would be even more dangerous. So if you practice Taekwondo long enough, you can Chuck Norris somebody to the face and anyway, still do some damage. I guess what I'm saying is we got to be a little bit more down to earth, reasonable, and equitable in how we measure out different fighting systems. Here's the next little piece. When we are thinking about how to do training, people, I think, center in on a certain type of training. So, for instance, there is jiu-jitsu guys, or there's concealed carry kind of range rats. They're all always just down there rehearsing very, very similar scenarios all the time, and that's just kind of what they do, and they feel very safe because they practice with a pistol. So everything that they do, Pennsylvania wrestler here, Pennsylvania guys are good at wrestling. I wrestled a lot of y'all. Anyway, they'll practice, you know, quick draw gunfight stuff, and that's really good for certain scenarios. Other people are just really military tactics. Other people, competitive shooting stuff. Still, there's other sides that are way, way different from a security standpoint. It has to do with like surveillance, counter surveillance, situational awareness. Other people go high on the tactics stuff, room clearing stuff. Other people will rely on non-lethals like pepper sprays and you know, taser guns and stuff like that. And all of this goes together to one big pot to say, hey, what is the possible tools that we have to protect ourselves? Now, really, when we look at protecting ourselves, the problem is violence is unpredictable and can be incredibly complex. There's so many different scenarios, and just sifting through all the things that could happen, and then being able to read the terrain, understand what the legal and moral considerations are, what the threat is, how many there are, and what the appropriate use of force is really, really hard, which means it pushes things like situational awareness and counter surveillance kind of stuff way to the top, and then being able to meet the threat in kind. You treat people very differently. Sometimes it's kind of like a hands-on problem, and it's not. It's kind of like, hey, remove this person. And it'd be very inappropriate to punch them in the face. And even more appropriate, you can't pull a gun on them. I remember driving certain terrorists around a battlefield, and it wasn't a shoot scenario. We already had them, but I needed them to comply. I didn't speak their language, and they couldn't see me because it was pitch black dark, and I was driving around with night vision. So I used just simple joint manipulation stuff that really worked because everybody speaks the language of pain, and I was able to drive these dudes around on a battlefield, and they did exactly what I want, as I wanted, how I wanted, when I wanted, without any question. And it was because I was pretty darn good at some small joint manipulations that were effective in me controlling PPCT stuff for you cops out there who know exactly, hey, that's one form of kind of like self-defense and protection. You air marshals, for instance, you guys got to be studs at that stuff, right? So there's one piece of that, and then there's also just kind of the boxing of, hey, now it'd be inappropriate to pull a gun. It's not a lethal force thing here, but I got a dude in front of me, and you know it's going to be an all-out fight. Or all of a sudden I got 3 dudes and they haven't really rushed me. It's inappropriate to pull a gun out, but I feel uneasy. Maybe I could have pepper spray out, but I couldn't necessarily have a gun out. And then there's the gun stuff of all of a sudden I'm, you know, a kung fu master, but I'm surrounded by 3 dudes and one of them hits me from behind without thinking, and all of a sudden it's a lethal force thing, and they start pounding you on the ground and you got a gun that you can be able to pull and go to work. It's a lethal force scenario. But anyway, what I guess I'm trying to build toward, I'll make a video on this where it's a little bit more polished, but here's my just a more unorganized, raw, impassioned thoughts on the subject of it's not good enough. Guys, beware falling into the auspices of defense when we are really just cherry picking our favorite little piece of defense and not really maximizing other areas. That's kind of what's on my mind, what I'm demoing right now, what I'm doing. I'm not going to share this stuff with you guys out there just because I've got my little secrets. One thing that I'm just not as strong on as I'd like to be is the surveillance, counter-surveillance aspect. So for quite a while now, I've been, you know, just working in that area. And just playing with a lot of surveillance stuff, hidden camera and all kinds of camera stuff, just in my own homestead, and to be able to kind of impromptu out and about, be able to do some surveillance and counter-surveillance-y stuff, more secret squirrel kind of stuff, and that's about all I'll say on it. But it's one area that I see in certain scenarios that could conceivably be important, and it's something that I've been trying to grow into for a little while. So that's just me trying to, in the criminal planning cycle, first they pick a target, then they gather intelligence, then they deploy, move into position, and then they launch an attack. That's the predictable criminal planning cycle. It always happens like that. Once the attack happens, they've ambushed us, they've caught us off guard, and now we have to all of a sudden respond to that when they have overwhelmingly the tactical advantage. So the better thing is to be able to detect them beforehand, and now that you can prepare, or to be able to remove yourself and avoid that situation altogether. So anyway, that's some stuff that I'm going into. All right, guys, now I'm serving questions. Sorry, I've really kind of been I'll start looking at your questions. John, I'm part of a large church security team. What's the best way to deal with crossfire due to multiple entrances, exits, and how we deal with CCW? Dude, it freaks me out because there's a lot of people who just don't understand how poor they are at firearms, and then all of a sudden you have wide open spaces in congregationals. You got over penetration with rounds going through different walls and hitting kids on the other side of the church, or just a lot of these folks carrying guns have never actually drawed from concealment. They have they've never shot under real fear and horror and at certain ranges, and they got like little tiny Ruger LCR or LCP guys that, I mean, that's hard for me to shoot accurately, quickly under stress, and here's the guy without training. And so there's a lot that goes into that. I plan on doing a whole bunch in the way of church security videos in the future, so I'll just wait for that. I love Krav Maga. I think that's one great system. I love Krav Maga in that it's kind of a response to, all of a sudden response to an attacker that may or may not have weapons. So it's really, really good. You could train in jiu-jitsu for years, and that's fantastic martial art. Good as you should. You need a stand-up game and you need a ground game, but you also need a stand-up game and ground game that is informed in, what if you have multiple assailants and weapons? Great, you're a jiu-jitsu black belt grandmaster, blah, blah, blah. And what if there's 3 dudes and, one of them has a knife? Great, all your jiu-jitsu's worthless now. You can't go to the ground, dude. your jiu-jitsu's almost, it's not worth it. It's virtually worthless. So we need to be able to have a lot of skills. Personal favorite defense round for 9mm, probably Corbon DPX or Federal HST. But I'm not like the best dude to talk about ammo. I don't really... I don't dork out on it. I'm not up on the latest, greatest stuff. I want the stuff that's worked in shootings for a very, very long time and is a consistent performer. I don't care about the new edgy, hey, here's your little explosive tip 9mm thing, and it's kind of, actually, if there's an explosive tip 9mm around, I want it. Yeah, I guess I need that. Hey, if any of you know of that, send it to me. Jiu-jitsu is king if it's a ground fight. If there's multiple assailants with the weapons, jiu-jitsu is going to get you killed. Let's see. Let's see, do you think there should be more training emphasis on when to draw a firearm? Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. A lot of times scenario-based training stuff that you can really do with video simulators or really good role players. That's hard training to accomplish. But video scenarios or the use of role players. Is a beard a tactical asset? Yes. Yes, it's impossible to kill people without a good beard. So sorry, all you guys who don't, but you can. I mean, you can stencil them on. It doesn't have to be a real beard. You can paste a beard on. Doesn't matter. Just have to have a beard. 9mm or hand grenades. I want a 9mm that shoots hand grenades. Budget on AR-15 optics. What are a good man? So one thing I'm about to demo. I've heard good things. It's like a really cheap Holosun, and I'm not recommending it, but I've just heard that on a shoestring budget that can actually work. I don't really like doing, but I get it, I guess. I want to demo some cheaper stuff out there, recognizing that I could be kind of the elitist and stick to, hey, I like the stuff that works really, really well, but I want to. I know you guys are not all going to go out and get an Aimpoint T2 or, you know, a EOTech Voodoo variable optics scope or, you know, some, you know, Loophole something. You're gonna, some of you have to do cheaper options. So I'm gonna be testing a little bit more of that, so it's a little bit more realistic for some of you guys out there. I usually point people toward Aimpoint. You want a good budget optic? Aimpoint Pro is about 400 something bucks, and it's gonna outlast you and your rifle. Let's see. Why I went the DD-M4A1 instead of the V11. V11 would have been great. I bought it a long time ago. I just bought a BCM, which I'm excited about, and I think it's got the M-Lock on there, the key mod. Anyway, yay for that. I bought it before the big key mod M-Lock craze. Have I ever read How Should We Then Live? No. Oh wait, by Francis Schaeffer. How about yes? It's hard. It'd be hard for me to talk about a philosopher who had more of an indelible impact on my life and my way of thinking, how my brain functions from a Christian or from a just general worldview philosophy than Francis Schaeffer. Incredible dude. Here's to something that I'm doing tonight. As soon as I get off, guys, we're on a timer right now. It's 8:35. I need to be gone, and I'm kind of like Central Time right here. In 25 minutes, I have to be off here, and I'm going to Patreon. Patreon is where kind of like the core group, you guys are all part of the Warrior Poet Society, but these are the smaller group of folks that actually financially support the channel, whether it's like $1 a month or, you know, some are 3, 5, 25. There's a few ballers out there doing like $100 a month, which blows my mind, and we're really grateful for it. But anyway, they're patrons, and they have access to exclusive live stuff and posts, so I'm always posting stuff for them. But I'm doing a special live video on Patreon tonight, and it's going to be dealing with kind of a worldview philosophy question, and it's let's see, for those who only believe in science and believe as a consequence all religion is fantasy. So what I'll be answering, or just one little piece I'll answer on there, we'll talk about a lot. It's a lot fewer people in there. It's patreon.com/Warrior Poet Society. So would somebody who actually knows the link write down the link, and when this video is over, I'll go back and put in the description a direct link, so you can literally go in the video description. It will take you right there, and I think it's like $1 to enter in and watch and participate. It's a smaller audience, so generally I can answer most questions on there. What was I doing in Costa Rica? I was teaching a worldview curriculum, so I wrote kind of like this book on stuff, but it's a Christian worldview philosophy where it talks about apologetics from you know, the sciences, that's the natural sciences, a little bit of the behavioral sciences, some in the philosophy department, history department. So when people brings up, hey, what about dinosaurs or crusades or skepticism, or, you know, hey, prove the existence of God, any of that stuff. I've been teaching it for about 8 years now, and I come down every year now just for a week, and this is kind of like our family missions trip. So something we do for service, and it's fun. Hey, I have an Amazon store, so if you guys have been asking kind of stuff that I have and stuff that I run, I have an Amazon store that has a whole bunch of stuff that I really like. And again, as soon as this video is done, I'll put a link to my Amazon store below. So somebody just asked, hey, what airsoft gun do I use for shooting Bob in the face? So I'll provide a link for that. All right, what else, guys? Hello, ANTV. Will you do more stories with John and shooting? Yeah, probably so. Well, you guys are weird. Let's see. Where in Chicago will you hold your class? It's outside of Chicago at a place called Aurora Sportsman's Club. Let's see. More rifle classes, roger that. Thank you, Tony, for putting that link up. Army beat the Navy. Yay. Good job, guys. You can run a SCAR for rifle 1 and 2, sure. Let's see. I'm doing a room clearing class in Augusta, Georgia. It's already on the calendar. Where did I study Spanish? Donde aprendiste español? That's nice because I know enough Spanish, but my Spanish is a little bit of a disaster. So I just picked it up. I lived in Central America, hopped around for years. So anyway, I did the math. I've lived a third of my adult life overseas in different countries. How about that? Let's see. See you in Vegas. Good, Arthur. I'll see you then. What's your opinion on cross-eye dominance? No sweat. Hey, here's the simple change. When you do your presentation on cross-eye dominance, if what's happening is your eyes are trying to contend to see what's going to see, and it's possible to have a left eye dominant at distance and a right eye dominant close up, and so your brain kind of fritzes out, and so you want to be able to make it easier on your physiology. So here's me right eye dominant right here, so see me behind this finger, and all I have to do is I take this chin and almost pin it to this shoulder, and you got to roll your shoulders forward as you should anyway, and just pin it. And what it does is it forces this eye before it takes this out, and you don't have to close an eye when you shoot. But it's really just as simple as moving your head. And that's it. Should work awesome for you. Let's see. I haven't taken formal pistol class, but I'm decent with my pistol. I plan on getting an RMR so that I do that before or after taking. I'd really recommend you do it after taking a class. The RMR, I believe, will frustrate you until you have a formal class. After you get the formal training and I'm able to really fine-tune your draw and presentation, and I teach you some of the little tricks and secrets with the red dot, then you'll go red dot and be happy you did. But it's probably going to irritate you a little bit, just working through it on your own. All right. Do I plan on teaching in South Florida? Yes, Altair and Homestead have made it difficult for me. Made me jump through hoops, and I just had a lot going on, so I ended up not doing it, but I'll eventually go there. So I've been in contact. I do plan on returning to Colorado, hopefully later in 2018. Lasers are wonderful if they're infrared. They could be overt. I don't like it as much, but like for, say you got a wife or mom, and there's no chance in the world she's going to look at her sights, but you got a little squeeze grip for a red dot, I could see some application there. I'm not going to fight you on that. It's not a bad thing, but really I like infrared lasers. I don't still use the RATS tourniquet. I had enough medical folks that really despised it enough that they kind of bullied me away from it, but I don't have my own data on it. Those are not my thoughts. I peer pressured away from it because I really trusted and respected the guys that were speaking out against it. And, just kind of like I did a video with Jay Paisley of Crisis Application Group. He's a old, operator dude, and 18 Delta. This guy knows. And he's like, dude, I'd far out a t-shirt and a stick, and I'll do better than the RATS. T-shirt and a stick, man. And so he just really didn't like the RATS, and he did a little bit of testing. So it's really on his opinion and his thoughts that I stopped doing it. And now that's not the final door. Don't ditch your RATS, necessarily. I'm just saying I've paused. Now, if it was just me, I may still be carrying it. But I am terrified to recommend something to you guys, and whatever I carry, a lot of people are going to go buy that because I carry it. So that's a sacred trust, which frankly makes me really uneasy. So if there's something that may not be up to snuff, if there's a decent chance it's not a good product, and it may be, like if it was just me, maybe I'd carry it. But all of a sudden, if I don't want to lead anyone astray, and so I need more data, and I may be carrying it in the future. But right now, I put a pause on that. I do plan to. I should talk to the rats people themselves. So again, hear me. I'm not saying the rats is a bad solution. I'm saying I've gotten some data that gave me pause, and I have not had time to investigate. Got it? Let's see, what else? Very bad. Oh, very good. I'm glad you liked it. People who write in Spanish, I answer right away. You just said The Gift of Fear was a great book. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Very good. Is that? Can you get that book in Spanish? I did consider going to Delta Selection. I got out of the military instead. I am going to Vegas. I'll be at SHOT Show this year. How many of you guys are going to SHOT Show? Hope to see you guys. Martial arts, ranger, judo chop. What made you want to be a ranger? I wanted to be special operations. I wanted to be, I wanted to be the best. Craig Williams, what's happening? There's one of my patrons. What's happening, brother? RASP experience tips. Don't quit. It's awful. RASP was terrible. Basic was a little bit of a joke to me. Airborne school was, I almost failed out of airborne school, not because it was hard, but because if someone chanted the word airborne to me one more time, I was going to, choke slam them. I was just going insane. We ran so slow that if we went any slower, we would be backing up. It was insane. Anyway, jump school was a bit of a joke. And then as well, and then I got to Ranger Indoctrination Program. It's called RIP back there, not RASP. RIP, which is a way cooler acronym. RASP is dorky sounding. And then that was not funny. The joke was over. That was not funny. Then you got to Ranger Battalion, and that was really not a funny joke. That was awful. That was awful. Let's see. Cool. People wanted to talk about Jaeger. I'll mention it real quickly, and I want to talk about YouTube just in general. One is I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me, so to speak, of YouTube. I have a lot to be grateful to for YouTube. What makes me nervous, and I'm not going to be like, hey, they're violating the Constitution. They're a company. They're a publicly traded company. They're allowed to ban people or, throttle my accounts or stuff. And I may think it's shady. I think it's duplicitous in that your motto is to give everyone a voice, and here you are limiting a voice. And why? Because we have pictures of guns like folks, I'm not talking Jaeger, I'm talking folks that just had gun videos on automatic or bump fire stocks or something. All of a sudden that was deemed inappropriate. If I would put the word Bible or Christian in anywhere in the text, it's immediately demonetized as inappropriate. And if you have some girl dancing around on stage in a thong, that's acceptable for audiences. So anyway, it's irritating to me, but even so, it's a company. It's allowed to do what it wants. I'm all for liberty. I'm all for freedom. And so a company can do that. Now, my contention isn't that a company can do whatever they want. It's, well, this happens to be, it's moved into the realm of, it's the largest media content sharing platform in the world. What if political powers that be with an agenda are controlling or coercing or putting intense pressure on different media outlets to silence an opposition? Though the company itself is acting, in accordance with what they do, as soon as we give it, there's just some, this type of political pressure that's designed to silence a gun community, they're actually taking away our voice. And that seems very First Amendment-y to me. I've got a problem with that. Not because 5-6 steps down the chessboard in the future, it means we all lose our voice. Now we can come up and start our own platform and stuff, but yeah, now you've got, a few thousand folks against the largest platform in the world. Billions and billions of people viewing stuff right now. versus a few thousand over in this corner, there's a socio-political war going on, and we're losing badly. And this changes the terrain dramatically. And so what if political powers are manipulating independent organizations? Guys, look at just the bias of the different news organizations. What I would like is, as soon as you become kind of a news organization, or you want to play, you know, this is okay speech and this isn't okay speech, you know, I've got a problem with that. You're limiting speech. So anyway, to tell you the truth, I'm still sifting through all this. I haven't arrived on this. I've got a lot of mixed feelings. It's really, really complicated. I'll say that it's disappointing to me, but I'm really torn on a lot of this, if I could be just forthright. So I'm still processing. But anyway, I don't trust politicians. And unblock James Yeager, please. All right, what else, guys? We're running out of time. I'm going to have to get off soon. Let's see. Yes, I know, Chris Collins. How's the room? I'm currently in secured. Right now I'm in a compound that has concertina wire over the top and is protected by a guard and German shepherds. So we're in pretty decent shape right now. And when danger's near, my beard tingles. That would be awesome, though. That's a good joke. That's new. That's fresh for you guys right there. There's a fresh joke. So stupid. Guys, I'm so proud of something. I just started making a video. This is exclusive for you guys. I'm going to make a video soon that's on meditations and violence, and this is so stupid. I shouldn't give y'all a sneak peek, but I will. Guys, meet my MacBook Pro. Pretty groovy, but y'all are going to get a sneak peek here. This is so dumb. So the idea is meditations on violence. It just sounds really fruity. It sounds really serene. It sounds like, you know, meditations, but then it's violence, and that just kind of contrast was funny. So I put a video together for it. So here, you guys can tune in. That's me being a goon. Go with it, guys. Go with it. It's a funny video. It is blood the attackers want, and they thirst for it. Once their knives have been wet with the blood of their victims. It's a dad joke. It's all a joke. All other things in life seem dim. It's violence that connects them all. Their attackers catching them unaware, leaving them forever scarred. And whether the violence cut them slowly to pieces with dull blades, or they dismember them with large concussive blasts from rocket-propelled grenades, or the dropping of bombs, the peeling of skin with napalm, and the stalking rapist doesn't care about their victim, whether it be a girl, a man, a dog, or even a couch. The rapist only cares about the frenzied attack. And some of their appetites are not quenched simply by killing. Others look upon their flayed victims and partake of their flesh as a tiny little snack. Whether they slowly twist the head off of somebody, or whether Anyway, that's the start of the video. It's actually going to be a serious video. It's going to be really helpful. I just can't resist anymore. I've got this weird sense of humor that's so dad joke, and I realize I should probably be banned for such a bad sense of humor, but I think it's hilarious. So I'm just going to kind of do, can you fake cry? I don't know. Let's see. You called us weird. Yeah, y'all are weird. Y'all follow my channel. Yeah, you're all crazy weird. Yeah, you're like me. You're warrior poets. We stand out. We're strange in a world like this. Very good. All right, I'm going to answer a few more questions, just a few, and then we'll end up. Yes, it is dark humor. It's dark humor. I have that. Many of you do as well. You have dark humor. My ear is tingling. All right, let's see. Come to Virginia. I'll try. I might have something coming out. Let's see. I'll come to Missouri. I just got back from it. How do you tie your hoodie strings? Like this guy right here. You just take them both like this, and then you loop it through like this. This is the style, guys. Some of y'all are like, dude, that's so hipster. Guess what? Hipsters don't look like they are dangerous. So I think my wardrobe could stand a little hipsterish thing. I don't want to look dangerous. I know, but the beard I have to keep. And the wife likes it. And this is not a choking hazard. Come try to choke me out with this. Good luck. Now, I can choke somebody out much easier with a t-shirt. Guys, y'all know how to choke somebody out well with clothes? So this is what you do for clothing, and you always have to over-exaggerate the choke. So for instance, if I wanted to choke somebody with this, what I do is I come in and I pinch right here. It's a pinch, and then you pull up, grab the whole thing, and if you're gonna pull across the throat here, you wanna start wider on it, and then you pull way across, and then you thrust down. But with the idea is you pinch, lift, wrap, pull across, and you want to go farther and over-exaggerate more so. So there you go. You're going to have to practice that a lot, and you're going to rip a lot of shirts. But you can really, really easily choke somebody out with their own t-shirt. A t-shirt, if you do what I just said. If you try to just grab it as is and pull it across, it's just going to stretch, stretch, stretch. It'll burn them a little bit. It'll make them uncomfortable, but you won't choke them out. If you do it the way I did, if you want to choke them here, you pull from way over here. Lift, pop, and pull. And you lift all the way across, and then you drive down. And I imagined it from the mount position right there. And then you pull it over into a clock choke. And then you bridge up. And it's awful. APLC over the XC1, absolutely. XC1, I think they've got a Gen 2 XC1 that's better quality, but the older XC1, we just haven't seen a lot of reliability. Same with the APLC, though. The Enforce APLC was not doing well, and then they finally, in Generation 3, now they've got a good solid light. So I had problems with my other ones, had them traded in. The customer service was great. They switched them right out for their Gen 3s, and I don't have any problems with them ever now. If you're using your arm, why not use it? You can use your arm. Sure. Let me see what else. Left of Bang. It's a good book. Yeah. Steve Clausen. It's a good book. Left of Bang. They're creating an entirely new vocabulary, so the concepts are really good. It has the feeling of stereo instructions sometimes, but the general concepts are real good. I really like this of what you're looking for in any different culture to spot different threats, is certain sociological anomalies that really hold true regardless of culture or language, generally speaking. Now, spotting one anomaly isn't really a big deal. You'll spot them all the time. But when you can see 1, 2, 3 anomalies together in a group, then it starts to gain significance. And so it's having more of a scientific kind of method in which you can classify and quickly have a common language, so that, for instance, a unit sharing that language. Now, how would you guys like to learn a language that no one knew but you? And that kind of defeats the point. So for a civilian, learning this language doesn't have as big of an application as, say, the Marine Corps, kind of scout guys. They're learning the language so that they can communicate in common terms. So a big part of the book is taking the concepts, which I could teach you, but they're taking the concepts and a new language. So it's taking a lot longer to get there. So it's really good for a unit. It's really good for whatever, but that common language hasn't really caught on. I just used a little bit of it. All right, cool. All right, last question of the night. I'm gonna look for it. Thoughts on Mere Christian by C.S. Lewis. I dare you folks to read Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I dare you. If you can't afford it, and you are not a Christian at all. Here's a guy, one of the more educated men in the world. He had a Doctor of Letters, which is kind of like the PhD that all other PhDs look at. 20th century philosopher C.S. Lewis. He was also a historian. He taught at Oxford and Cambridge University. Believed Christianity was a silly myth. He read the Bible to disprove it, and ended up going from, very dogmatic atheist to a Christian. He wrote a lot of books. One of them was Mere Christianity, and it provides some of the philosophical foundations for the reason why he held a Christian worldview. None of the stuff I answer with, guys, is some of this limp-wristed, fluffy, just faith. You got to believe. No, it's reasonable. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm not going to wimp out, and he doesn't either. C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. If you say, hey, I don't have the money for the $10, I'll buy it for you. How about that? But again, you have to kind of meet my not a believer, and you're on food stamps, right? So anyway, cool. Guys, take it easy. I've got a date with Patron right now, so I'm going to go answer that question. Again, I'll be fielding the question, those who only believe in science and believe as a consequence in all religions are fantasy. Take it easy, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. It means a lot to me. And I'll put the links for Amazon store below and Patreon right now. I'll do that, and I'll see some of you guys over there. Later, guys. Peace.